Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we are now live. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. And welcome to Chattering with Nicholas Vince. And this week I'm chattering with Tini Tüllmann, who I'll introduce in just a few moments. Before that, I just wanted to thank everybody who's taken the trouble to subscribe. Really do appreciate it. And the other thing is just to remind people that The Night Whispered is available online. Thanks to everybody who's written a review. That's 7.6 on IMDb at the moment from 17 reviews, which is pretty damn good going. So that's available on Real House, and for the princely sum of $2.99, you get the film, you get the making of documentary. Basically, you get over, for an 8-minute film, you actually get about 22 minutes of extras. And then there's scripts and storyboards and so on. So, you know, welcome to that. But anyway, enough of that. You'll hear me talking about that more over the next few weeks, probably up until Christmas. So let me introduce you to Tini. Hi, Tini.
Hello.
Now, Tini, as you're probably aware, Tini is the writer-director of Freddy, Eddy. So we're going to be talking about Freddy, Eddy, and then we're also going to be talking about David Fincher's Fight Club and David Lynch's Lost Highway. But before we talk about those, let's talk a little bit about Freddy, Eddy. Tini, can you just, for those people who've not seen the film, which I have because I saw it at Fright Fest, please talk people, you know, what can people expect from Freddy, Eddy?
Well, yeah, I was secretly, I wanted to Google for my review in English to find the right word.
I know. Fine.
I can do it. I'm German, okay? Well, it's my first feature, and it's about a story of, it's a guy who finds himself in the biggest crisis of his life because they say he bet up his wife, and yeah, there's a lot of horrible stuff going on, and he always says he can't remember this, he didn't do this. So in this bad time, his imaginary friend from childhood times pops up again, and in the beginning he thinks he's crazy, so he doesn't want to believe, but this guy starts helping him out in this horrible situation. So he likes the company, and as things go, this guy starts to do really more horrible things than that happened before. So he is an even bigger mess than before because this imaginary friend looks like himself, and he doesn't know if he's real or not, and nobody believes him that this guy is real, or if he's real, whatever, because he looks like himself. That's basically it.
It's a really interesting film, and it's like, yeah, I think one of the, in Fright Fest, I think that, sorry, I just realizing that I've got you on rather than me. I remember when I saw the write-up in Fright Fest, they were saying, you know, basically, how do you prove that your childhood imaginary friend is doing the things that you are accused of? Which I thought was a really interesting idea. How did this all come about? When did you first start writing the script?
I think, well, we shot it in 2015. Everything took a little bit longer in the post-production, everything, because we didn't have any money, just my money and no fundings, nothing. And we tried to get fundings for 1.5 years before. So, and I started about half a year. So yeah, 4 years ago, I started to write it.
Right.
And yeah, it started because a friend of mine told me about his brother who had an imaginary friend as a child, and he was not allowed to talk to his imaginary friend of his brother. And I thought, oh, that's funny. And I asked him what would happen if this guy, who was in his mid-30s, yeah, just if the doorbell would ring and he opens up the door and there's this imaginary friend. And he was like, oh, that's creepy. So I thought, hey, that's a cool start of a story. So yeah. There was a scene in the screenplay when really Eddy rang the doorbell, but yeah, I lost it on the way. So.
Yeah, yeah. So just so that is, so the lead character is Freddy, and the imaginary friend is, or the imaginary friend is Eddy. Yeah. Cool. So what? Okay, so you had this idea. Was this your first ever screenplay? Had you written before? I obviously you studied film, so I was wondering, had you actually written any other screenplays before?
Well, short films, yes, but I wrote 2 other screenplays for feature films, but they were, well, I went to producers with it, and they were like, okay, no, this is mutants and houses exploding, and no, as a first feature, no, way too expensive.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought about something smaller, and yeah, that became it. So I have some more stuff in my cupboard, but I might have to do, these things are really so big that I need, probably I have to do 2 or 3 more films that work at least a little bit, so they let me do a big film like this, because the one is really with transformation, blah, mutants running around. Yeah, you need money.
Yeah. Have you published the budget that you spent on Freddy?
It's 75,000 euro, more or less. So yeah, I had 50,000 and I borrowed 25,000 from my brother, and I mean now it costed even more because I had to do some like copies and deliveries for the world sales, because we don't have a distribution, but we have a world sales. So, and then you have to do another sound mix without language. So yeah, after this, but the basic amount of money was 75,000 euros.
So you started off with 75,000 euros. So you say you've got world sales but not distribution. What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't have a distribution in Germany, because that's also why. Also, it's always because of the reason that it's a thriller, and in Germany, this genre of films don't work at the box office. So yeah, that's what they told me, at least. That was a problem why we couldn't apply for fundings, because in Germany you need or a distributor or a TV station that says, yeah, I will bring it out afterwards. Then you can go to the fundings and apply. Officially you can go also without this, but it won't work. So
right.
And yeah, they liked the book and they liked the cast, but they said, why don't you write a comedy or a children's movie, because this works and the other ones don't work. So we had to do it without fundings, and unfortunately, even though it traveled around the world now and it got some awards and everything, still the distributors are afraid that nobody would come to the normal cinemas. So kind of looks like I have to do this myself as well.
Right. Yeah. Right. Along, yeah, having done basic. And do you produce this yourself as well?
Yes.
As right? Yeah.
Yes. I also have a production company. Like you are in my production company right now, with all my people working in this production company. You can see everybody. So look at my imaginary friends. Yeah. So that's.
Okay, so that's how you. Okay, that's fine. So you had the script. You realized you had to do this yourself. How did you then approach doing that? How did you approach putting it all together?
So much help. It's still incredible how much help I got from my friends and from a lot of people I didn't know before, who liked the story or wanted to help another friend who was my friend. It was for different reasons, but yeah, we got so much support. We got a lot of support from Ari, which is the rental company and the post-production company, a very big one here in Germany, which the Ari Alexa is, I think, the most well-known camera in the world. So yeah, the company has a post-production section and the rental, and they helped us a lot. And the sound studio and the stunt team, and nobody wanted. Well, they would have liked money, but they did it all for no money. Who worked for us, and so yeah, everybody just got a contract that they will get money if the film makes money. But till now, I'm just spending. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Because basically, so did you manage to cover their expenses? When
No.
Wow.
I did well. I got some award prize monies, but
Right.
not that much.
No.
So
No.
no.
Okay, yeah, no, that's extraordinary. Okay, well, we'll come back more to Freddy Eddy and we'll carry on that story. But I thought let's take a slight sidestep and we'll talk about one of the two films that I've already mentioned. Which would you prefer to start with, Fight Club or Lost Highway?
Well, Lost Highway was probably the film that impressed me so much that I really wanted to stay in this film thing. That I really,
Right.
I remember myself sitting in the cinema and I didn't understand shit about the movie, to be honest. I was just, what is going on? But I was so impressed that I thought, okay, if you can do something like this where you just basically understand half of the story, but still are so impressed that, yeah, it makes it, there was this, I got so excited about it. So yeah, this is kind of a goal where there's people who can do things that change my way of seeing things. And well, it also was a revelation for me in sound, to be honest. It also, because it has so many sound effects. I didn't know it's, for example, David Lynch doesn't use a lot of filters, like common filters, like if you want to show that, for example, it's a dream, and normally I don't know, it's so easy to put a filter on it and see, hey, it's a dream because it has another color or whatever. Yeah. But he does it with sound, and it just makes bzzz, and it's a fucking dream, and it's not real. Well, nothing is real, kind of, in this movie, but it's, yeah, he's sometimes very. There's nearly no sound, then it gets super loud, and it's all on point. It's it's. I cannot really analyze the movie because I didn't understand everything, but I really like it.
Yeah. It's interesting. Just warn people, there will be spoilers inevitably in the films that we're discussing. We're very carefully not spoiling Freddy Eddy, but inevitably when we talk about Lost Highway and Fight Club. And again, please, if you have any thoughts or comments on Lost Highway or Fight Club, or even Freddy Eddy, if you saw it at Fright Fest this year, or have seen it elsewhere and want to put in some comments, please let Craig add a comment, and Craig will pass them on. When did you first see Lost Highway?
When it came out in 1990s. I don't know, when did it come out? I'm
thinking we'll get Craig to double check. I've got 97
or something.
97, something like that. Yeah. And did you see it and you saw it in the English version, I guess?
No. I saw it in the German version. Because I come from a small, maybe people of my town are watching. It's not small. It's it's a not so big town near Munich, and by that time we didn't have a cinema that showed. 1997, they didn't show films in original language. In Germany, most of the films are dubbed, so you have to go to special cinemas to. Now it's getting better and it's more easier. You have easier access to original language films with subtitles, but then it was nearly impossible. You would have to go to a big town to see it in original version. So
interesting. Yeah. Have you seen it have you seen the English version since?
Yeah, I did.
That's very interesting. Did you really appreciate the difference? Was there anything that you spotted that you hadn't? Obviously quite a long time ago, but do you remember? What was the difference between watching the two different versions?
Well, the two, it's always better in the original version, of course, because the actors are better, the sound is better, everything is just like the director wanted it, like the actors wanted to express themselves. It's the other one is just a bad copy, but so this is like in nearly every movie. There's a few movies that are lucky that they got dubbed because they're so bad in the original version, but that's really a few.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Most of the time it's like this, and it was also with Lost Highway the same.
Yeah. Right. What was, you said that it amazing influence on you. Could you expand on that a little bit more? You just find it inspiring, or?
Yeah, very inspiring for sound, for example. It's well, also for thinking in different ways, because I just ended school, and I went to film school. I started to go to film school, and it kind of made me realize that this is the way what I want to do. It was really, I remember myself sitting in the cinema in Freising, that's where I come from, and thinking, wow, I want to meet people who do things like this. I want to try to do things like this. Yeah, it's so this was inspiring. And for sound, which came a lot later, because I studied directing, but the goal was, I studied film and the goal was directing. But when I finished, I did a very bad the last movie you do in film school. Your
graduation piece.
Yeah, my graduation movie is not very good, unfortunately. The short films before were much better, but the graduation one was quite shitty. So, and I had I kind of slipped into being a sound assistant. I did assistant director, but you're always the idiot on set. If you're an assistant director, I didn't like that much. So it's not really about directing, it's about organization. And I ended up in sound assistants, and I really liked it because I could hear so much about directing, because you're standing next to the director with the boom the whole time, and you hear what the actors say. And so I got to know all these crazy sound people. And when I made Freddy, Eddy, they helped me out so much. And my re-recording mixer, Björn Wiese, he's a crazy guy. He's a genius. And he's also in this, also a little bit Lynch style, this loud, to work with these balances and the volumes, and so I think it influenced me a little bit, for sure. Yeah.
Right. So. And I'm getting some feedback for some reason, which I'm not quite sure.
I didn't change anything.
No, suddenly things change, and I'm not quite sure why. Oh, it seems to have gone. It's gone away again. That was just very strange. Okay, so you know, David Lynch, that's really interesting, that by being able to just being on set, I think, is a great way of learning filmmaking. So what can you, it's probably a long time since you've seen the film, but Lost Highway, can you think of a particular section that made you think, oh wow, this particular part, if I think of the film Lost Highway, this is the sequence that I think of that springs to mind?
Well, it's always this clown figure, of course, the guy with the video camera.
Right.
Yeah. So who has this scene when he's giving him his phone, and he says, "Call me. I'm at your home right now. How can you be at my home?" And then he gives him the phone, and he calls him, and he's standing in front of him, but he's talking to him on the phone, which is that probably was the.
Yes, when I first Googled, when I first knew we were going to be discussing Lost Highway, and I first Googled, that's one of the top hits that you get on YouTube.
Because it's crazy. There's also another one. It's super short, but I remember that because I mean, he's working with a lot of cliches, of course, but like in a very cool way. And I remember when the first guy, the older Bill, how do you say Bill Pullman?
Bill Pullman, yes.
Bill Pullman. When before he murders, well, if he murders his wife, but before he murders his wife, he walks down into an aisle in the
corridor.
Yeah, and he walks into darkness, and then she comes in. He asks, and then he comes out of the darkness, and then he kills the lady. So it's very it's this walking into the darkness and then coming out and being someone else is I don't know, I liked it. I know it's a cliche, but I thought it was cool.
It's very it is the way you can handle cliches. And I mean, cliches can be terribly powerful if you need to tell a part of a story very quickly. You can just, I mean, one should always avoid them if you can, but sometimes they're a very good shorthand. We're saying, okay, people will immediately know where we are just by and now I can move on and do the interesting stuff that I want to do. There is the sequence of there's the Arquette. I can't remember the lady's first name. Who the actress who plays the two.
Patricia.
Patricia Arquette. Thank you. I should know that name. That was my mum's. The way, because it took me a while to work out whether or not I was still looking at the same actress when she appears with a different wig, a different color hair, and so on, because she's so softly. It's so weird. It is so bizarre. And it runs 2 hours and 8 minutes.
Oh, really? I don't even know.
Because so you spend a long time and it just looks gorgeous. I mean, he knows how to fill a frame, and it's a very wide frame. It's 2.35, or I think it might even be higher, maybe 2.46 or something like that, to around 2.4. It's a very wide screen, certainly on the version that I've got, and he fills every part of it, and he uses these lush colors. For me, it's usually more visual rather than sound, because I have to turn the sound up anyway to be able to hear anything that's said on TVs. So yeah, it's extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary film. Yeah,
I would love to see it again in the cinema somewhere, because on a TV it's another thing.
That's interesting. We very seldom get to see the cinema or go to the cinema these days, because it's extremely expensive, and it's having to deal with other audience members who are going to be checking their mobile phones or
that's true.
eating popcorn, or
leave your mobile phone outside to someone and get it back after the movie.
That's all mobile phones are taken away from people, and you can put them into little having a cinema. I think that's a really cool idea. Your cubby hole, you've got a key, doesn't cost you anything.
So many people are just stupid and don't understand that there's light coming from your phone, and it annoys not only the person next to you, it annoys the whole audience. It's like everybody can see that there's a light, and you get distracted from the movie because you idiot have to check your WhatsApp message.
If people say to me, okay, well, but that's something important message. Well, then don't go and see a film. If you're expecting an important message, don't go and see a film. But then again, I come from a generation that grew up without mobile phones. The phone was the thing that sat in the hallway, and that, you had to make a point. You could only speak to people, and I'm talking about the days before answer phones, folks. You only had school friends because those are the only people you knew, or your drama club or something. That was your circle of friends, because those were the only people you physically had ever met. That was the only way you could actually form a friendship. You had to physically meet someone in person. What a concept. A completely different world. Anyway, I'll stop sounding like a grouchy old man here. Lost Highway, if you haven't seen it, it's a really, and it's obviously sadly Bill Pullman passed away suddenly and unexpectedly this year. One of the things I really liked about him is that whole opening sequence when he's with Patricia Arquette. Is it's not stated, there is no violence, but there is violence bubbling away between. She's obviously terrified of him. There are no bruises, there's nothing to say that real violence has taken place, but there's jealousy and there is this tension. As you say, really, really subtle noise going on in the background in terms of a score, just to kind of emphasize that there is a definite threat situation going on here. So yeah, very cleverly done, and helped by the performances of those two actors as well. Cool. All right, so let's go back to Freddy, Eddy. So you got a lot of help from people. How did you start the casting?
How long?
Sorry, how did you find your cast? How did you find your actors?
A lot of them I did know before. Some of them are really good friends of mine as well, and I'm very happy they joined in. And the other ones, like the main actor who had to play Freddy and Eddy, I did a casting, because I'm a casting director since 10 years for commercials as well. Next to sound, I did casting as well. And he came for a car commercial, and I was looking desperately for an actor. And I saw him, and he was completely the wrong guy for the car commercial, but he stuck in my mind. And then I called him. It was kind of a cheesy move. It's like, hi, I'm the casting director. I have a movie. And but fortunately he liked the story, and we met, and he read it, and he was a gift from heaven, because it's worked out so well. We are very good friends now as well, and so he doesn't hate me after the
movie. This is Felix Schaffer?
Yeah, Felix Schaffer. Yeah.
Schaffer.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was really, it's his first feature as well. And he did such an awesome job, because he had to do these 2 parts, and we didn't have a lot of time, of course, because we didn't have money. So we had quite a big amount of filming to do every day. And he knew the whole screenplay. You could change, because it was also crazy that he had to change these roles beneath one scene a few times, but you could change also the scene completely if it was raining or whatever, because he already knew the whole screenplay. It was crazy. He did such an awesome job.
I remember asking him some questions at the Q&A after the screening that I attended, and he was basically, because there are quite a few scenes where he's literally having a conversation between himself and himself, but as the 2 different characters. What sort of how long a day were you shooting? How many hours a day were you shooting?
Well, we tried to keep it in a normal range, but it was between I think around 10, 11, sometimes 12 hours. But we try to keep it 10, 11, 12 hours maximum. But there were 2 nights. Well, there's this huge finale in the end of the film that normally would take a week to film it. And we had 2 nights to do it. We had a second camera, but there was a lot of stunt scenes going on and everything. And he had to change the parts so often, and it was exhausting physically. And we were shooting for I don't know. I would have to ask my production manager how many hours, but it was a lot. And it was at night, so the whole team was tired, and it was that was really exhausting. But yeah, fortunately we made it.
So how many days filming did you do?
26 and 1 hour. What is officially 27, but we had to reshoot one scene in the beginning, so we had 1 hour in the morning where we did the reshoot. So
right. So 27 days now, not one after the other, obviously. Was that split up at all, or?
Yeah, we had 2 weeks in Berlin and 3 weeks at this lake in Bavaria, only because the house where Freddy lives in is the house of my grandparents. And it's a super nice place in the beginning of the mountains, in front of a super beautiful lake. The only problem is that I thought, I can use the house for free. What a fortunate coincidence. But I didn't think about that this is a wellness resort. So it's very expensive to put the team and the actors in hotels. And it was, even though the production manager and the producer, they found really, like it's called producer, I don't know, it's more like a line producer. They found really great apartments, and they so many when you don't have to pay so much money, how do you say it? Discount. Yeah. Huge discounts, but still it was very expensive. So we had to do the interior scene, a lot of the interior scenes. We were shooting in Berlin, and well, everything in the movie plays at this lake, but half of 2 weeks were shot in Berlin because we couldn't afford to put the people in the hotels and
right
apartments. Yeah. So there was a break of 4 days between the two, like 2 weeks, 4 days free, another 3 weeks. Yeah.
And you describe it as a lake, but actually some of the filming is actually done up in the mountains with
it's
snow.
The lake in front where the Alps begin. So the lake surrounded by, not surrounded, but on the one side the mountains start. So it's in Voralpenland. I have no idea how to say this.
So excuse me for coughing, folks. So you were up in the mountain. What time of year were you filming? Which season?
Mid-February. And we were very lucky because sometimes in this region, in mid-February, there's so much snow that you cannot even park your car because it's like this high. And we were very lucky that it was quite a mild winter and everything worked out. Otherwise, and the snow stayed kind of more or less there, because that's a problem with snow, because one day there is snow, the other day there is no snow. So if the grass in front of the house is brown, next day it's white, then it's brown, then it's white, we have a problem in editing it, of course. But yeah, we were quite lucky that it was this half whatever. So it always looks like it's a little bit brown, a little bit snow kind of thing. So
right. Yeah, you certainly, when you're watching the movie, it certainly doesn't. And you were filming in a gallery as well.
Yeah, that was in Berlin. Berlin. It's not a gallery. It's just a room, but in the film it's a gallery.
Right.
And I could use from my friend. He has this installation. It's a video installation, and he's a genius. A really crazy guy. He does video installations that get exhibited in the MoMA in New York, and he gave us one to use and so it looks very posh gallery.
Right.
Yeah.
And how did you get Jessica Schwartz involved?
Because I asked her, and she's a very good friend of mine.
Oh, okay. That always helps. Yeah.
But it took her some time to read the book and the screenplay, and then in the beginning it was just a treatment. She's like, yeah, it's nice, but well, the thing is, she's used to get the main cast, and she is the main female cast, of course, but the way more interesting role, of course, is Freddy and Eddy to play two characters. And so she was like, okay, you are lucky, I like the screenplay, so I will do this. But yeah, and I was very, very happy she said yes, even though she's used to bigger parts. And I think she did an awesome job. And yeah, her partner, her husband, nearly husband, hopefully, is the DOP. So,
oh, okay.
Director of photography. And he came in later when she already was in the project, but he was also a gift because we connected very well. And we're also friends now. So yeah, everybody's kind of friends now. So we were a very friendly team.
Yeah, which is what you need if you're working, you know, under those conditions, and you're working so hard and so on for such a long period of time. Yeah, you really want to be amongst a friend. Having friends on set is absolutely vital. So you got the casting, you'd done all the filming and so on. We'll come back to Freddy Eddy in a few moments. But I just wanted, and really what's happened since you've finished filming. What Fight Club was the other film that you gave me? It's lovely. I asked you for your list of influences, and you gave me a long list.
Yes, but I also gave you The Fox and the Hound, and Who Where's My Car? It was not only about imaginary friends. And
Fight Club. When did you first see Fight Club?
I don't really, well, also at the movie theater, but yeah, when did that come out? 19, I don't know, 2000 maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I was just trying, I've just lost the Freddy Eddy, hold on. I was just been looking at 1999, so not long after Lost Highway, in fact.
Yeah, I also saw it in the movie theater, and I was blown away in many ways. Because first of all, I of course fell in love with Tyler Durden and Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
it was because it's such a sexy performance. But yeah, of course about the film, because it's such a, well, now it's a big spoiler. Who, for the 3 people in the world who didn't see Fight Club, listen now. Yeah, the narrator tells you in the beginning that you cannot trust him, and that he's crazy, and he goes to all these things, and you completely trust him, and it, in the end, it's like, what? Wait! He told me that he's crazy, and he told me that, kind of told me the whole time that he is Tyler Durden, and I didn't get it. So this twist is really good.
And again, it looks gorgeous. It's I was reading up on it before we started the show, and they're saying that at the time it was just known, it was the violence. People just this is not a good film because it is so violent.
Yeah, the thing is that I think a lot of people didn't understand that it's not only about creating a fight club. It's because there's so many more layers. It's a very political film as well, and so. But of course, because it's called Fight Club, and there's this cool thing about the rules of the Fight Club, and so they have this, there's people beating each other up, but that's not really what the film is about. It's just a cool, thing that's built around. Well, no, it's a good example for what they want to tell. I think that you have to beat yourself up so you feel something, and.
Well, it's also the thing about male relationships and male bonding and the way men deal with each other. I think is absolutely fascinating, isn't it? The way, it is. It's about men, and what I also love about it is the fact that Meatloaf is in it. People tend to think of Meatloaf just as a singer and forget he's actually a really good actor.
Yeah, he's great. He's the one with the tits. Right?
Yeah. He's the big guy. And I always think he's really underrated as an actor. He doesn't seem to get as much as recognition as I think certainly as I think he deserves. I'm not particularly talking about in Rocky Horror Show. He does great, but that's kind of a pop performance. But as a serious actor, I think he's got a lot of gravitas and is a very interesting, a very interesting guy. But yeah, so I think the thing about Fight Club is that it's about materialism. It's got one of the classic lines, I think. No, I haven't seen the movie in a while. Well, I was hoping to have a chance to rewatch it before we spoke. But I think one of the last lines is you've met me on a very bad day. And it's just like, that's a really good definition of what a bad day is going to be, or a difficult time in his life. So Fight Club, it's, again, as it turns out, this is it, again, it's that thing of, but that is, funnily enough, the twist, whereas Freddy Eddy, this is the whole thing about somebody dealing with a friend who only he can see. What was the best, going back to Freddy Eddy for a moment and the whole filming experience, what was your favorite part of the process? What was there a particular day? Was there a particular, what was the part of the filming of Freddy Eddy that you enjoyed the most?
I think there's one scene in the snow where it's like they have these sleds and they chase each other in the snow. And this scene is actually a lot longer. We had to cut it out because it got kind of like a trashy James Bond version, and it didn't really feel good in the rest of. But the day was great because we had so much fun filming it, because we had we had all the material on sleds.
Yeah, sleds.
Yeah, on sleds, and it was quite when it's not flat, when it's like this. How do you say it?
Incline.
There were parts where it's really going down.
Steep.
So in the beginning, all the people who worked with the grip guy and the electrician, they were like, wow, how can we do this? And they were like complaining, and you want to kill us, blah, blah, blah. And then it kind of turned. I have no idea how, why, whatever. We had so much fun. And they went again, and the next days while we were shooting, after the shooting, they went there to go on sleds, go down. It's a very good hill to go with sleds. And we had a lot of fun that day. It was really crazy.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you raised that, because it was one of the scenes I was going to ask you about, because it's amazing. And when you've used the word hill, we use the word mountain to describe what you're talking about. It was high up on a mountain.
It's high. It's a real mountain.
It's a real mountain, and it's obviously part of a ski resort. But yeah, that and it worked so incredibly well that I was thinking, whoa. I like the analogy to James Bond.
And the funny thing is, because before the chasing, there is this scene where they both, just Freddy and his neighbor, the female neighbor, they go up and they have fun, and they just do some fun in the snow and go on the sleds, and we didn't finish the first day. We didn't finish this, so we had our, how do you call the party you do in the middle of the shooting? There's this party in Germany. You always, when you have the mid of the shooting, the whole shooting time, you do a big party. And
I'd never heard of that tradition. What a wonderful tradition.
We always do it.
Normally, you don't get a party until you finish.
No. In Germany, you do Bergfest, which is after you did half of the shooting, you do a party, and everybody gets super drunk normally, and is dying the next day, which normally shouldn't be a shooting day, day off, and then everybody's back to work. So after this party, we went up on the hill again, only five of us, to shoot this fun scenes, because for all this chasing, we didn't have time and we were still super drunk. And you know, when the afternoon comes and the alcohol goes away, and you feel like you start feeling really bad, because beginning is like, you're like, yeah, we could do this, and then so we were up there and starting to shoot this also just for an hour. I don't think we counted this as a day. I don't know, I can't remember, but yeah, and then everybody, just the energy went down like this. In this 1 hour, we were just, it was from, okay, Tini, and now what do they do? It's like, they I don't know, they could put some snow from, and it was like, oh, this is going on so fast, and my head and everybody's head, and yeah, that was very funny as well. Yeah, everybody was happy to get back down and go to bed.
What do you call the halfway party in German?
Well, it's called Bergfest, and Berg means mountain, so it's mountain party, because you have like the peak of the mountain and the other side, so you did halfway of the shooting.
So you call it the Bergfest. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I think so. So it's useful because you need to get away all this energy, and you need a party, so the team is happy. Yeah.
I like this. I like this. If I ever get to make a feature film, I shall try and remember that and persuade producers that this is something that's well worth doing. Because I mean, imagine it helps cement people's relation, you know, particularly if you're halfway through. Yeah.
A lot of stuff went on while this shooting happened. Some of this, I'm not aware what happened, but there was like, not on purpose, just because of there was one house with apartments where all the electricians lived. So basically only men, and the DP and the grip guy. And there was another house where all the girls, the costume and the art department, they stayed. And in the end of the shooting, there was barely nobody left in the women house. It was not really the women house, but it's kind of everybody lived in the other apartment house. So these parties are useful.
Yeah. Possibly draw a curtain over that one. Yeah. Sounds like a really interesting shoot. It sounds like a very interesting shoot.
I wasn't there because I slept in the house where Freddy lived, because I hadn't money for a security team to. So I slept on set. I slept in boxes and everything. To take care about that. But I heard stories from time to time, of course. Right.
Yes. We won't go into that. Anyway, so you got the film finished. You did all your post-production and so on. You've mentioned that it's been out on the festival. It's played festivals. It's won an award. I believe you won an award at the Austin Film Festival.
Yes, I did. I'm very happy. I'm very happy about my very first award. I'm happy about all the awards, of course, but the very first one is the Heinz Badewitz Memorial Award from a German film festival, which was where Wim Wenders handed me this award from his longtime friend who died the same year, who was the founder of this festival in Hofer Filmtage. And so I was very honored. I got the first award with his name on. And exactly 1 year later, at the ending of the tour, I don't know what happened that they accepted us, but they did accept us at Austin Film Festival, even though the film was a year old, but it didn't have its North American premiere yet. So, and we won the Dark Matters Award, and best film in the Dark Matters category. And it got even crazier there, because there was not Wim Wenders, there was Kenneth Lonergan and Walter Hill and Robert Rodriguez and me with this thing. And it was crazy. So that was quite a great finale of the tour.
That's a
Yeah.
wonderful finale to the tour.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to chat with other filmmakers? Did you about your film at any of the
about my film, about everything. The great thing about Austin Film Festival is that it's funny because it's really very similar to the one in Hof, because they don't have VIP areas. So when you have this badge, there's not a party, and then there's you with your badge, and then there's this corner with the red rope, and there's all the famous people. Everybody's the same, so you will stand in one queue to wait for the shuttle bus in the rain with the craziest Hollywood star people, and so because it's called the heart of the screenwriter, so most of the people are screenwriters there, of course, and yeah, we got to know the screenwriter of The Lion King, Chris Fogler, then James Hart, the screenwriter of Tomb Raider and Dracula and Contact, and who else? The screenwriter of Wonder Woman. It's like we just sat with them in a shuttle bus, and yeah. So, and there were so many other interesting people we could meet because who are not famous but very interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we made a lot of connections and friends as well, and it was a great time. It's a Austin Film Festival is amazing. Yeah.
Right. Really interesting. Okay. And then after
Fright Fest is too, by the way. It's the same Fright Fest now that we're talking. Fright Fest, same. Everybody meets at the Phoenix bar evening. There's no ropes, no whatever. You just you're in the festival or not in the festival. But there's Fright Fest is also super great.
Yeah. No, it's one of the reasons I like
Even though we didn't win an award.
But to be fair, they don't really give out awards. I think they did one for British newcomer.
Yeah, exactly. We're not British, so we couldn't.
No. But they don't do awards like other festivals do awards. Yeah. I'm sure it would have won an award otherwise.
Even without an award, it's also an amazing festival. I've been at a lot of amazing festivals. Also, Fantaspoa in Brazil is also very...
yes. And I've heard of Fantasporto in Portugal. It's... in
Brazil.
In Brazil, sorry. In Brazil. Yes, sorry. Yes, the Portuguese version. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Now, you also did American Film Market, you were telling me the other day. So what was your experience there?
Well, it was interesting because everybody told me that the AFM is it, where you get to know everybody and you have to hang around in the bar and you need a badge and whatever. And so because the world sales of Freddy Eddy, which is Jenga Films from London, if anybody wants to see the movie, call Jenga and buy Freddy Eddy. No, but they presented it there. There was a screening of the film. So I thought, okay, I go there too if I'm already in America. And so after Austin, I went to LA, the very first time in LA. And I can do a little bit of guerrilla marketing and talk people into my movie. That was the goal. And so I made some flyers and I stood in front of the cinemas and handed out flyers, which is a lot of distributors don't really like it. They're like, when you come with your flyers, like, hi, on Sunday is my movie. They're like this, and it's like, no, it's like, okay, it's a paper, don't worry. But some of them are really nice, and they congratulated me, whatever. And then there was one funny story because I had this flyer with the poster. That's a Freddy Eddy poster. So I had the poster on the one side and the information on the other side. So I had this flyer in my hand. There was, I don't know, 3 or 4 meters away from that guy. I was like, hey, on Sunday, my movie. And the guy just looked at me and he was like, but I've already seen Freddy Eddy. And I was like, what? 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 And then, it was Mitch from Fantasia Film Festival, the founder or director or whatever.
Right.
And yeah, and so it was really funny. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to buy it anyways because I just run a festival. And yeah, it was really cool to talk to him, even though he didn't accept my movie. But yeah, he liked it. He said he liked it. Maybe it was not the right time to show it, but he was, yeah, cool guy. And I met a lot of people just by handing out the flyers, which was
right,
fun.
right.
For whoever goes there as a filmmaker, you really don't need a badge. Please don't spend $300 for a badge, because I got a badge from a friend to go in, and it's the most boring place on earth if you're not a distributor or a buyer, because there's nothing to do for you. It's just boring. There's nothing. So yeah, don't buy a badge.
It's very interesting. There was a Fright Fest Halloween, which is a one-day festival around Halloween.
Cool.
Yeah, and the first movie of the day is a documentary about an independent filmmaker who ends up at American Film Festival, to AFM, at American Film Market, and exactly the same experience as you've just,
Oh, really?
yeah. I can't remember the name of the I can't remember the name of the film or anything. I'm going to ask Craig, see if Craig can go to the Fright Fest website, Craig, and if you can get the schedule for the Halloween. They usually put the previous events, if you do a little bit of searching around, and if you can find the name of the first film. Pretty certain it was the first film of the day. It was a documentary about the making of a movie about an Australian filmmaker and what he went through to make his movie, which starred Dee Wallace off the top of my head. It was really interesting. It was an absolutely fascinating documentary about making the movie. Now, you've kind of hinted, so you say you've got worldwide distribution outside of Germany. Is that what you're saying for the movie?
Exactly. I kept the German rights, the German speaking rights, because I needed to go to the theater. I don't want to put it on VOD or TV in the beginning, because I went so far, and you get another status, another for my next movie I want to apply for fundings.
Right.
It's completely different if I did a feature film that ran in the cinemas than if I did a feature film that just went on VOD.
Right. So yeah, there's an advantage for doing theatrical screening.
So I wanted to make sure, even though it's there's so many obstacles to get it into the cinema. So I wanted to make sure that it stays in my control, that I can put it, even if I have to do it myself. But all the other regions are distributed by Jenga Films from London. Yeah.
Jenga, Jenga.
Was Jinga.
Okay, Jenga.
Yeah.
Jenga Films. Okay.
Yeah. And Russia and China is already sold.
So, okay. Yeah. So hopefully we can see either on VOD or with Blu-ray or DVD or something with subtitles, presumably. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, with English subtitles. Have you done your subtitling? Have you done the English subtitles?
Yeah, I did it myself. I did it with a lot of help, like always. But yeah, I wrote down all the things that because the screenplay doesn't help, because you edit something differently, and half of so you really have to write down everything they're talking in the movie, and then I translated it with my vegetable English. Then I handed it over to my main cast, Felix Schäfer, because he lived in New Zealand for 7 to 8 years. So then he retranslated it again and corrected it. And then he handed it over to his New Zealand friends. So they corrected it again. So in the end, yeah, I think 4 people worked on it. And then I got it back, and then I wrote it word by word into the Avid. And yeah, so then it
Yes, because a gentleman who'd seen the movie at Fright Fest, Andy McCartan, was asking when they could hopefully see a subtitle, an English subtitled version of the movie. And the movie I'm thinking of is called Horror Movie: A Low Budget Nightmare, which is by director Gary Doust, and it's on the making of Red Christmas. And I recommend any indie filmmaker who's making for a feature film watches that, because it is absolutely fascinating, and it's a no holds bar exploration of going through what you went through, basically.
I will definitely watch it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's absolutely fascinating. And it just kind of, you think, talk about a naive. He had no experience. You know, he was working in TV, but this was his first feature film, and it was absolutely. I originally enjoyed Red Christmas as well. I'd seen that last year's Fright Fest and really enjoyed that. Cool. All right. Well, this is the end of our time. So when will Freddy Eddy be released by Jinga? When is it going to be available from Jinga?
Well, Jinga is the world sales, so
Okay.
they sell it. They sold it already to Russia and China, and they are negotiating now with other countries like
I'm with you
as well. So I hope this work we will see. And to answer the question from Andrew.
So just to clarify, folks, so Jinga are a sales agent,
the world sales,
selling it to distributors.
Exactly.
And then once it's got into the hands of distributors, then we'll get to see it in some form. So I'm afraid it's just a question of watching the spec and keeping an eye out, liking the Facebook page. I know you're very good about keeping the Facebook page up to date.
Exactly. Yeah, like my Facebook page and Instagram page, Freddy Eddy. Then you know everything that's happening. Not happening.
Cool. All right. Well, before we say goodbye, Tini, I just wanted to give a couple of shout outs to future guests. There's no show next weekend because there isn't, for a reason. No show next week.
For no reason, there is no show.
Yeah, there's just a show next week.
Yeah.
But I'm back for the last 2 shows of the year on December the 10th with Ashley Thorpe, who is the director, creator of a feature film called Borley Rectory, which is black and white, rotoscoped animated film, live action and animation film, which took him 4 years to complete. And the amazing journey he went through with that, which is doing very well on the festival circuit, as well as already won some awards. And following that is a gentleman called Lee Howard, who is responsible for Quiet Room Bears and for, which are basically teddy bears you would not give to children normally. And he's also an artist as well. So those are the last 2 shows that I do know who. There's a gentleman, and then in January there's a gentleman called James Azrael who is going to be joining me, and we're going to be talking about his amazing collection of movie memorabilia and the book that's he's going to be publishing. That's right, I was just looking over to my left now, I can't reach it at the moment. He gave me, there's a 2nd volume of just examining some of the articles that he's got in. It's just an amazing collection of movie memorabilia that he's got. So that's all to come. Tini, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you so much for inviting me and letting me speak my blah blah English here.
Your English.
I tried my best.
Your English is absolutely wonderful and so much better than my German. So
well, that
you did very well.
Thank you.
You did really, really well. Really, really well.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Chattering with Nicholas Vince. I've been chatting with Tini Tüllmann about her film Freddy, Eddy and the movies Lost Highway and Fight Club. Keep an eye out for Freddy, Eddy. Definitely one of my favorite films from Fright Fest this year. And hopefully see you in a couple of weeks' time when I shall be talking with Ashley Thorpe. In the meantime, stay calm, stay cool, and stay spooky.